Well, resistors, there's two different types of circuits for resistors. What we're going to start on is series. So series, they're all on the same line. This is real prevalent in electronics and in controls. It's not real prevalent, and what we normally do is power distribution. Most all power distribution, especially in homes and stuff, is going to be parallel. We do use this, say if you're using three-way switches, you series them up so the two of them have to be in the same position, but that's about the only place. On tests, they're going to have resistors on every wireman test that I've heard of. In the last couple of years, they've had these problems, and usually they're the exact same two problems, but if not, they'll be similar. Numbers might be different. And sometimes they have a third one, but it's usually an Ohm's law disguised as a different resistor type problem. But either way, we'll help you out with it. And if you haven't done Ohm's law, if you hadn't done our little section on Ohm's law, I would advise you, it's probably the place to go and start, because Ohm's law has a lot of good things, and if you understand it, it's going to help you a lot on this. But anyway, on with our circuit. So I have a series circuit, 120 volts to start with, and I have resistor 1, resistor 2, and resistor 3, R1, 2, and 3. And there are 3, 6, and 9 ohms. Here again in Ohm's law, you're going to learn, the symbol is ohms, and resistance is always measured in ohms. But there's rules or laws that go along with resistors. And so this is series resistor laws. And so the first law is V for volts. There again, it's Ohm's law. The volts are going to be different. So the volts coming to here are going to be different because it's going to lose voltage through all these resistors. Amps are going to be the same. So whatever my amps are at one point in here, the amps are going to be the same throughout the whole circuit because it's only on one line and the amps have to flow, and they only have one line to flow on. Is where in parallel you'll see they'll have different lines. The total resistance is the total of all resistors. This is always an easy one because when you get the question, it's going to have, usually they have these two different resistor questions back to back, and either they'll have parallel and series or series and parallel using the same, they'll have the same numbers down for the answers. So, it gives you two chances at it or two chances to get it wrong. But series, you just add them up. So resistance is the total of all resistors. And here's RT, resistance total. We would just add them up. 3 plus 6 is 9, plus 9 be 18. 18 ohms. 18 ohms resistance. Last T, total voltage drop is all the volts drop. We could figure the voltage drop across here. And you start out with 120 and it'd be 0 when you got to the end, when you got past that R3. So now that we have resistance total, we can take and we can work this problem out because it's we work this problem out because now we have resistance total and we have the voltage. Here again, like I say, Ohm's law is helpful because this is what you'd use. So if we want to find amps, it's going to be volts divided by resistance. So 120 volts divided by 18 ohms resistance gives you 6.66 or 6.7. They usually go 2 spaces on the test, so I'm going to go 2 spaces. So that's how you would do it. Just add them all up on the resistance, and that's usually the question they're asking you. So that would be easy enough. Now the second type is parallel. In parallel, it looks something like this. And say in our house, this might be 3 receptacles, because you got 120 on one side and 0 on the other. Here again, this is R1, 2, and R3. And then our ohms would be 3, 6, and 9. And here again, we also have laws on it, but they're opposite laws. They're different than they were on series, because this is parallel. So the volts are going to be the same. Well, I say the volts are going to be the same. If I read across this resistor, I got 120 volts on one side and neutral on the other, just like when I read a receptacle. Put my tester, I got 120 volts on this one, 120 volts on this one, and 120 volts on this one. So they would be the same everywhere in the circuit, be the same voltage, but the amps would be different. Because I'd have amps through this one, I'd have amps through this one, and I'd have amps through this one. Right? And they would be different because they're different ohms. And ohms are how you're controlling the amount of current running through it. And you're doing that by, voltage and current with the resistor. And that's what a resistor does. It controls electricity. And so the total resistance because it has many paths to go through, is less than the smallest resistor. Hey, I have a guy even tell me on a master's test, they have one similar to this. The only thing you have to know is it has to be smaller than 3. And if they only have one answer smaller than 3, that's your answer. You don't even have to work it out. You can work it out, but if it's smaller than 3, that's got to be the answer. And so the total amps is equal to the sum of all amps added. So, I mean, we can use Ohm's law again, really, and find all this. So we have here again, we have volts and ohms, so we can find amps across each one. So we have 120 divided by 3. So we have this one would be this one would be 40 amps. And then we have 120 divided by 6 be 20 amps. We have 120 divided by 9 be 13.33 amps. So my total amps, so here again I'm going to write resistance total we're going to find and amps total. So my resistance total, I can find my amps total pretty easy. So I have 40 plus 20 plus 13.3. So 73.33. So now I could take 120 divided by 73.33 equals 1.636. all that's to say, really, working this out is a neat thing to do, and I actually have a different way to do this. I can show you maybe in another video. I'll show you. But really, for your test, all you need to know is it needs to be smaller than 3, because that's all anybody's come back and told me. They've never had to work this out, and it's usually the 1.636. Your other answers would probably be 3, 6, and the other one would be 18. For sure, one answer is going to be 18 because this is the sister question to the one we had before on the series. All right, well, I hope this helps you on resistors. Like I say, we might make an advanced version and show you a few more things, but we're just trying to help you to get your wireman's license. This is some theory. I mean, I hope you want to learn it and go on with it. The more you know, the more you can grow, and the more you'll understand about electricity and how it works. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you on the next video.